Volunteering is giving, sharing, standing by others, supporting causes you care about, and creating a better future for everyone. This is why more and more entities support volunteering to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. Volunteers make a difference to the lives of many. Join us and become a United Nations volunteer.
Hi everyone. Welcome to this live chat. This marks actually the 16 Days of Activism campaign. So today we kick off the campaign and we're talking about protection against gender-based violence. We're talking about the work that UN volunteers are doing in this area. Thanks for listening. To start, I take this opportunity to highlight that the UNV program is taking action itself to prevent sexual exploitation, abuse, and harassment. From our side, every year, thousands of people volunteer with the UN. We recruit them, we deploy them, and we make sure that every single one of them is aware and informed and ready to act to prevent any form of sexual exploitation and abuse. For example, all volunteers that are deployed, they complete a mandatory course at the start of their assignment. This year, we had over 1,000 volunteers taking part in virtual workshops on the topic. They learn about the zero tolerance policy, victim-centered approach, and their own responsibilities as members of the UN workforce. So back to our kickoff. We have with us two wonderful UN volunteers that took the time to talk with us. I will let them introduce themselves. For those of you who are listening in, you can leave your comments in the chat and share anything you would like to add. So, Estelle.
Thank you, Niels, and good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to be here. So my name is Estelle, and I currently serve as a UN Youth volunteer for the Regional Office of UN Women for the Arab States, which is located in Cairo, Egypt. I work on the topic of ending violence against women and girls, so the topic of the 16 Days of Activism. And to give you a bit of context, the Regional Office of UN Women for the Arab States covers 17 countries across the region, including low, medium, and high-income countries, and also several countries that are currently experiencing serious crises. And I head over to Aine.
Hi, everyone. My name is Aine Hanrahan. I'm a UN volunteer with UN Women Liberia in West Africa. I've been working here for 2 years as the Interagency Gender Support Officer. My role involves internal coordination on all things related to gender. I collaborate with all UN agencies based in Liberia, providing training, information sharing, and support of any and all of their needs regarding gender equality and women's empowerment. I also work closely with the regional office in Dakar on gender mainstreaming. Back to you, Niels.
Mm-hmm. Thank you both, Estelle and Anya. So Estelle, working with the regional office of UN Women for the Arab States, what are some of the challenges that you encounter when it comes to gender-based violence in the region? And since we're still in the COVID pandemic mode, did that make it any worse, or how did that impact your work?
Thank you, Niels, for the question. And one of the first challenges I would like to highlight when we talk about violence against women and girls is data, because it's always it's always a challenge to have the right data in this topic. What we know in the Arab States, we have estimates from 2018 from WHO and UN Women, and they tell us that 1 in 3 women experienced physical or sexual violence by a partner in the Eastern Mediterranean region. It is important to say that the actual prevalence is probably much higher because of underreporting, which is very common worldwide and in the region due to fear, due to stigma, especially in cases of domestic and sexual violence. In addition, these numbers, they do not reflect the impact of the COVID neither the full continuum of violence that we can see everywhere, and in this region, including sexual harassment, online violence, female genital mutilation. On the topic of the pandemic, we have some data from the region that they tell us that instances of online and ICT-based violence against women and girls significantly increased in the region following the outbreak of the pandemic.
Okay, yeah, thanks for sharing that, Estelle. It gives us a good impression already. What about you, Anya? What are challenges that you encounter as a UN volunteer when it comes to gender-based violence in Liberia, where you are serving?
Thank you, Niels. So gender-based violence takes many forms in Liberia, be it physical, financial, psychological. I'm going to give you some examples of some of the violence that occurs here. Many women and girls undergo female genital mutilation to this day. For example, around 75% of women aged 45 to 49 years of age have undergone the FGM ritual. As well, this percentage of teenage childbearing has only decreased from 38% in 2009 to 30% in 2019. Extreme poverty, limited education, gender inequality, and sexual violence are some of the underlying causes of early sexual initiation and teenage pregnancy. My role with UN Women is to coordinate the gender theme group in Liberia and to support UN agencies in implementing gender mainstreaming. As part of this role, I became the focal point for the gender equality marker. As well, I led and supported colleagues in the implementation and the review of the 2020 and 2021 UN country team system-wide action plan gender equality scorecard. The scorecard contains 15 indicators in which we measure if UN Liberia is approaching, meeting, or exceeding minimum standards of gender equality. I was also a member of the Western Central Africa Regional Office Coordination Group, in which idea sharing and knowledge products were developed. This year, the Gender Briefing Toolkit was updated with inputs from colleagues across Western Central Africa, the original toolkit coming from Nigeria. This will be used as guidance for all UN agencies on key gender topics or issues, as well as a reference point for gender in their country.
Okay, wow. So that's some impressive data that you're sharing, but it also, shows how many different things you're involved in that area in your assignment. So that's fantastic. Estelle, what about you? Can you tell us a bit more about your assignment as a UN volunteer and what you're actually working on to eliminate gender-based violence in the region?
Thank you, Niels, for the question. And what I would like to do is just to highlight two projects that we are focusing on with my team. And the first one is online violence against women, because as I said before, when documenting the impact of the COVID-19 on women and girls in the region, one of the main findings was that online violence was the highest reported form of violence. But still, there is very limited data available on the prevalence of this type of violence and on the main challenge on what is exactly the situation. So one of the focus this year was trying to find out what exactly is the situation in the region, what are the challenges, and also what is in place to respond to this issue. So we conducted research. Qualitative and quantitative research, also with including influencers and human rights defenders, and also mapping laws, legislative frameworks, and also services that are available to women who experiences this type of violence, aiming at really understanding what is the situation now to being able to address it in the future. The second project I would like to talk about is a toolkit that was developed for remote service delivery. Because as you can imagine, as a result of the pandemic, many frontline civil society organizations that are providing crucial services for survivors of violence. They had to move their services online, using WhatsApp, putting in place new hotlines, creating Facebook groups, for instance. And so they faced many challenges in adapting, continuing these services, also in ensuring the safety and the confidentiality for the survivors. Consequently, we worked on developing this toolkit in order to respond to these challenges that were highlighted by the civil society organizations. And like this, we're aiming at increasing their preparedness and their response to the COVID pandemic and also to future crises. To give you an idea, for instance, the toolkit provides guidance and tips on how to establish remote case management, helplines, and online support groups.
If I may, Estelle, just to build on what you have said, to truly understand the effect of gender-based violence on women and girls, it is essential to have the right data. That's why, as part of my position, we developed the gender mainstreaming strategy in line with the system-wide action plan scorecard. We interviewed over 60 people, including UN colleagues, donors, ministry and government partners, as well as civil society organizations. We also received information through an online survey on organizational culture from 160 UN colleagues. The strategy will run from 2022 to 2025, hoping to improve the experience of all colleagues in Liberia. Some recommendations include providing clear information of colleagues' maternity and paternity leaves. Leadership and human resources are setting into place key strategies to ensure gender parity in staffing and providing key strategic gender training to the working groups as well as UN colleagues.
Okay, so thank you both for highlighting these contributions. I mean, that's fantastic. And I was impressed to hear what you work on actually as a UN volunteer. I know from our side that personally, beyond your UNV assignments in the Arab States region in Liberia, you also support us here, the UNV program, with the workshops we run for all the volunteers globally on the prevention of sexual exploitation and harassment. And you personally contribute to those. Why did you contribute, and why do you think that is an important initiative?
If I may, it's important to contribute to these conversations and share knowledge and facilitate these discussions on preventing sexual exploitation, abuse, and harassment. During these sessions, I personally held a session on individual power and how it can be used for or against you. I also supported the prohibited conduct cards discussion, where we presented a scenario and had a very interesting discussion on how that scenario may affect sexual exploitation, abuse, or harassment in the workplace. It was really inspiring working with a wonderful team of both staff and UN volunteers and facilitating those discussions and training UN volunteers on what sexual exploitation, abuse, and harassment is, as well as how it can be perpetrated and what our power is to respond to and react to it.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. Indeed, I mean, that's what we value a lot, right? The actual experience that you have, and then bringing in and sharing that with our other volunteers. I think that's very valuable. Now, we go back maybe now to our topic here, the kickoff of the 16 days against gender-based violence. What would you want to invite our followers to join you now? And what would you want them and then your teams to do for that?
Thank you, Niels. So yes, we are organizing events and activities for the 16 days at the level of the Arab states on my side. One of these activities I would like to talk to you about is an interagency social media challenge. Because as maybe you already know, the UN theme topic for this year's 16 days is Orange the World and Violence Against Women Now. So the idea that we had for the social media challenge is to ask the different stakeholders, partners, and just really everyone, you and me, what they do or what they can do, what we can do to end violence against women and girls now. What we are aiming with this challenge is to underline both the fact that everyone has a responsibility and can do something to end violence, but also that many, many actions are already being taken. And to come back to the training on the prevention of sexual exploitation, abuse, and harassment, this is already a first step that all UN volunteers can and actually should take to end violence against women and girls. And yes, so if you're located in the Arab States region, it would be great to have you join our challenge and to hear about you, what you do, what you can do to end violence against women and girls. Some information on the challenge will be posted in the chat, so you can see how you can participate.
Wonderful. So on that note, you have concrete action to take if you are a serving volunteer. And for any of you listening today, we invite you to participate in the UNV social media campaign. Share how you volunteer to eliminate gender-based violence. For that, please use the hashtag that you see here at the bottom. You can copy it as well, I think. Maybe some of you listening in today, you are gender experts or experts on the topic yourself. Maybe you would want to contribute to the United Nations, so that's your opportunity to sign up with UNV. We have a roster, you have the link here, sign up, and you might find yourself working alongside people like Estelle and Onya, supporting the cause. So thank you both for the wonderful discussion. It was great to have you. Let me also take the opportunity to remind all of you listening in here to follow us on the social media channels, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook. We are there, Twitter as well, the Trello board. With that, thank you from my side, from this side of the UNV program. Good to have you with us today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thanks everyone for this very interesting discussion.
Volunteering is giving, sharing, standing by others, supporting causes you care about, and creating a better future for everyone. This is why more and more entities support volunteering to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. Volunteers make a difference to the lives of many. Join us and become a United Nations volunteer.